Stay with me until the final point. In this story, everything that matters happens in the last rally, the moment where ambition goes quiet, and the heart finally speaks. Do not blink, do not skip, the ending is the answer you came here for. Chapter 1, When the Lines Become Boundaries. It starts in a small-town arena, the kind with cracked blue paint along the bleachers and a wind that knows every empty seat by name. The tournament brochure calls it the Riverside Classic, though anyone who travels the minor circuit knows names like that are just hopeful polishes on scuffed silver. The draw is modest, the crowd curious, and on court 2, two men warm up with the hollow pop of strings guiding their wrists. Eli Grant and Jonah Vale. And on the sideline, in a black visor and a jacket washed thin by 100 workouts, stands Mara Voss, the one who set this match in motion without ever touching a ball. I am a man who prefers truth to rumor, and I watched all three of them long enough to know that the truth elbowed its way into being here, like a net cord that refuses to drop on one side. They were younger when I first saw them, Eli and Jonah, friends like mirror images, and Mara, a blaze in motion, the kind of player who made you forget your seat was hard and the match was long. When the three of them appeared together, something sharpened in the air. Today, as Eli bounces on his toes and Jonah twirls his racket like a coin between fingers, Mara's gaze stays level, unreadable. But I know what she remembers. I remember it too. The umpire calls time. A ball kid hands over a can of new balls. You can feel the weight of past choices in the fuzz. It isn't only a match, it's a reckoning whose invitation was written in the old handwriting of youth, risk, and the first heat of wanting. Chapter 2, The Serve We Remember. Before the injuries, before the contracts, there were July mornings at the West Ridge tennis camp where the courts shimmered with heat and ambition. Eli came first, wary and patient, a server of quiet devastations who made percentage tennis look like poetry. Jonah arrived 3 days later and made the ball hiss. He hit as if he were trying to carve his name into the sky. In those early weeks, they learned one another's jokes and patterns the way opponents learn tells, through repetition and accident. Mara didn't just arrive, she happened. A scholarship kid with newly strung strings and a tempo that owned nothing to fear. She moved like music someone could play again and again. Everything about her game made people lean, her down-the-line backhand, her refusal to apologize for power, her laugh that did not ask permission to take up space. I saw it, two boys and the ring of possibility, drawn tighter by the orbit of one girl who made them want everything more speed, more polish, more approval. It was never only about romance, it was also about the wish to be seen by someone whose eyes refuse average. When a scouting reporter asked Mara what she wanted, she answered, "I want to matter in the last 5 minutes." I wrote it down and underlined it twice. She already knew the final points would define them all. There were Friday night challenge matches with soggy towels and neon lights. There were stolen sodas and ridiculous dares and a thin summer moon over those hard courts. And then there were the things you say when you're too young to think they might come true. I'll follow you anywhere. Promise you'll remember. Let's never play safe. The first kiss didn't happen courtside. It happened in the bleachers above court 5 when the sprinklers came on and fogged the world. It belonged to Jonah, quick, reckless, laughter on both lips afterward. The first promise belonged to Eli, steady, unadorned, spoken without theatrics. If you fall, I'll carry you. That is the arithmetic of how triangles are born, a laugh on one side, a promise on the other, and a force in between that insists on motion. Chapter 3, The First Break. When they left the camp, the map unfolded. Futures tournaments, flights that left at dawn, rackets rolling in baggage carousels like secret weapons. I watched them all in different cities, scribbling details no one asked me to keep. Eli's patience began to pay dividends against bigger hitters. Jonah's volatility cracked open draws he had no business surviving. And Mara, she began to look like certainty. Sponsors nodded. Crowd started to say her name before she won. She was a comet with a calendar. Jealousy's first whisper isn't loud, it hums like the lights over indoor courts. A look lasts too long. A hotel hallway becomes a story. Eli knew Mara and Jonah were trying to turn a spark into something they could explain. He could see it even if he pretended not to. Jonah watched Mara's eyes track Eli's discipline and wondered what safety might feel like after a lifetime of leaping. Mara was smarter than both. She recognized that love is not one language and desire not one sentence. Everything changed when Mara slid for a forehand in Charleston and never rose the same. Ligaments don't care about destiny. The sound her knee made, I swear I heard it from my seat. She went still while the stadium forgot how to breathe. Later, in the antiseptic sheen of rehab rooms, I saw how Eli showed up, conscientious, early, holding the dull hours like they were break points to be saved. Jonah came in bursts, flowers and jokes and a furious tenderness that could not sit beside pain for long without wanting to break a wall. Mara learned how to walk again, how to jog, how to bite back at the betrayal of a body that had always obeyed. She learned, unwillingly, that the last 5 minutes might not arrive with a racket in her hand. And so she did what some people misunderstand as giving up, she changed shape. She became a coach long before she admitted it aloud. She started seeing patterns the way examiners crush footage into wisdom. She stood at the baseline with a stopwatch, and the stopwatch was a blade that carved new purpose. The three of them tried to be brave about it. Try being the operative word. Chapter 4, What You Save for Later. Years folded in the suitcase. Eli climbed into the top 100 with a game that looked like a careful letter to the future, deliberate, loving, signed in ink. Jonah burned brighter, then disappeared, then returned, a meteor tracing and retracing the night. If you asked them individually what they wanted, Eli would say, stability, and mean victory. Jonah would say, freedom, and mean the same thing. Neither quite realized that stability and freedom are twins that squabble at holidays. Mara opened the Voss Academy in a borrowed warehouse with 2 courts and a wall that swallowed every encouraging sentence she shouted at 6 a.m. She was a fierce instructor, a brilliant tactician, and at night, she tried to convince herself that the ache she felt was just a muscle that hadn't stretched yet. They drifted, inevitable, like traffic patterns. Eli and Mara, after enough dinners and shared weather, became a pair the world nodded at as if checking a box for plausible happiness. Jonah became a headline you skim and cannot dismiss. And yet the geometry never settled. Each time Jonah reappeared in a tournament where Eli stood across, the air vibrated like neon. At a rain-delayed event in Oklahoma City, Mara watched Eli lose a match he was supposed to win. The loss didn't hurt him, it hollowed him. The next morning, she drove before the streets woke and parked outside a motel that had seen enough nights to stop keeping count. Jonah opened the door shirtless, unashamed. Stories like to pretend that's where seduction begins. The truth is it began years earlier, with applauded winners and the dead of old laughter. They didn't sleep together that morning. They talked. They remembered the late bus in Spain, the broken string in Naples, the way a crowd in Lima sang her name. They didn't resolve a thing, because life rarely invites you to that kind of clean table. But when she left, Jonah had a smile that called back the boy he had been. When she left, Mara drove with a clarity that made the trees look truer. Loyalty is a word we use when we're terrified of the other word, choice. In the weeks that followed, Mara watched Eli move through practices like a man performing himself. She loved him, in the sturdy way you love a bridge for holding. She also loved the boy who had once kissed her above court 5 and said no prayer before leaping. I will not moralize this. I will only tell you that the heart is a stadium with more seating than we admit. Chapter 5, Draws and Destinies. The Riverside Classic was Mara's idea, though you won't find her name on the organizer's list. She whispered, made calls, shifted entries like chess pieces until the bracket bowed to a possibility, Eli and Jonah on opposite sides, inevitable collision engineered with the gentlest of nudges. She didn't do it to punish them. She did it to end the purgatory of what-ifs that had turned love into an unsolved equation. I sat 3 rows up as Eli took the court for his first-round match, as Jonah swaggered into his. Both advanced without the drama their reputation suggested. The crowd smelled a story. Crowds always do. By the semi-final day, local kids had made signs that read simply, Grant versus Vale. They didn't need to understand the years to sense the math, 2 pasts, 1 present. Mara kept her distance, then didn't. She coached Eli between matches, voice low, notes crisp. She spoke to Jonah once under the shade of a half-broken umbrella, handing him a bottle of water with a smile that was acknowledgement, not favor. People say neutrality is possible. They are wrong. But fairness is a discipline of the soul, and Mara trained for it the way she once trained for backhands. On the morning of the final, the sky wore the kind of gray that promises nothing and delivers everything. Eli's eyes were serious, Jonah's were bright. Their handshake at the net was not ice nor fire, it was a truce between 2 boys who had once believed that growing older would clarify the map. The umpire called play. The first serve sliced wide. And just like that, the match started in silence and history. Chapter 6, The Long Rally. I will spare you the play-by-play and instead offer the truth only a watcher who has paid attention can give. Eli played like a blueprint being drafted in real time, angles and percentages and a patience that seduced mistakes. Jonah played like thunder learning grammar, explosive, then suddenly precise. They put each other through the rehearsal of every teenage dare, hit bigger, stand closer to the baseline, take the ball early, don't blink. Midway through the second set, something inside the match shifted. It wasn't visible to the untrained eye, but I saw Mara's chin lift a fraction. Eli had begun to press, trying to win a point twice in one swing. Jonah, usually the gambler, started to trust the points that built themselves. It was as if they had borrowed each other's courage for a few games. That is love too, in a fashion, the willingness to become a little like the one you've studied longest. At 5-5, they played a rally that felt like the biography of all 3. Cross-court, down the line, retrieved at a sprint, a slice that died low and mean, a forehand that spun guiltless and bright. There were 5 times the point could have ended, and 5 times it did not. In the middle of it, near the baseline where the paint had faded to chalk, Eli slipped and recovered, and in his eyes I saw the memory of Charleston and Mara on the clay, and the word never that had haunted them all. He steadied. Jonah didn't rush to finish. The ball came back again and again, a question nobody wanted to answer wrong. It ended with a backhand from Jonah that clipped the tape and flopped over, unlovely and perfect. He didn't fist pump. He just looked up at the sky like it had something to confess. The crowd made its noise. Mara nodded once as if a theorem had been proven. In the third set, fatigue wrote its cursive. Eli's legs wept, Jonah's lungs complained. They pushed past comfort into the place where honesty lives. It is impossible to play that hard and keep your secrets. When Eli saved 2 match points with serves that dared the sidelines, I knew he was confessing, I am afraid of what happens if I lose you. I knew, because men do not toss the ball that high unless they are reaching beyond safety. Match point number 3 came on Eli's serve, deuce side, sun poking through the gray as if to witness. He tossed, struck, followed. Jonah guessed right, blocked, recovered, and when Eli came forward, there was a hush, the kind that belongs to surgeons and saints. Jonah threaded a pass down the line. The ball landed on the paint. It didn't ask permission. Jonah won. The scoreboard blinked it into being as if the numbers needed to gather their courage. He didn't roar. He walked to the net and put a hand on Eli's shoulder. They were not hugging the past goodbye, they were acknowledging it like distant relatives at a reunion. Mara descended the bleachers with the slow certainty of someone walking toward her own verdict. She applauded both. She leaned into Eli first, her hand finding his heartbeat. She touched Jonah's cheek, then stepped back. 3 people, a triangle, not a trap but a map. This is what romance looks like when it grows up. It leaves the trophy on the table and asks for a conversation none of them wanted to have in public. Chapter 7, The Last 5 Minutes. They met behind the courts where the fence collects stray balls and secrets. The tournament director pretended not to see. I drifted far enough to grant them privacy and close enough to remember. "I'm proud of you," Mara told Eli, and the words were heavier than consolation because they were true. "I'm proud of you," she told Jonah, and he almost laughed like the kid he used to be. "This can't be a match for me to win or lose," Eli said finally, the kind of sentence that takes courage to speak. "You don't get to be the trophy." "I never was," Mara replied, and the heat in her voice was not anger but a flare that lit the field at night. "I chose both of you once, and I chose the game. I keep choosing the game because it's the piece of my heart that doesn't lie." Jonah exhaled, shoulders loosening as if the point had ended. "And now? Now I choose the life that lets me love without keeping score," she said. "The academy. The kids who show up at dawn. The strategy boxes I draw for players who don't know yet that they're brave. I want you both in that life, if you can stand it. Not as consolation. As truth." Eli closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were steadier. "I can be your partner off the court," he said. "Not because I'm afraid to lose, but because I finally understand what winning is." Jonah took a step back, then forward again, indecisive for once. "I'll take your coaching when you offer it, and your silence when you don't," he said. "I'll stop running long enough to let the map draw me." They were not rehearsing. They were writing new lines. There would be dinners with unease, trips tangled with memory, laughter that surprised them, anger that would need cooling. There would be days Mara woke up sure and days she did not. There would be matches Eli lost that he shouldn't and matches Jonah won that nobody predicted. There would be a kid at the academy who hit a backhand so clean Mara felt something old and holy crack and heal at once. On my way out, I paused by court 2. The marks of their feet were still there, shallow hieroglyphs of struggle and grace. The light went sideways, and the shadows stretched into strange, beautiful shapes. I remembered what Mara said years ago about the last 5 minutes. She wasn't wrong. It's only at the end, when your lungs are burning and your choices have been called to the net, that you get to tell the truth without flinching. So here is the truth the final rally gave them: love is not a bracket. It's not a trophy. It's not even a match point. It is 3 people who refuse to make each other smaller. It is a life that allows room for change without pretending change is painless. It is applause for the one who beat you today and a hand on the shoulder that says, "I still know you." It is a coach who learned to love the sound of other people's names being chanted in stadiums. As I left the grounds, I looked back once, as everyone does, and saw Mara alone at the baseline, tracing lines with her toe in the dust. She was smiling. The lines did not cage her anymore. They guided her, like boundaries are supposed to, keeping what matters in play, letting what hurts sail long. And now you know why you had to stay until the end. The rally does not finish the heart. It frees it. If this story moved you, please subscribe to the channel, activate notifications so you never miss a new tale, give the video a like, leave a comment with your favorite moment, and share it with someone who needs a last rally of their own.